I've documented 18 different signs that indicate betrayal's on its way. This is a human dynamic. It'll show up like a person being victimized by their circumstances or their history. Just like Adam said, what's the woman you gave me? If you wouldn't have given me her, this wouldn't have happened, right? It's that externalization, giving responsibility for my choices to something outside of me, either the circumstances or my history.
The signs of betrayal are subtle but distinct. Dan, you always say it happens fast, or it happens slow, and then it happens fast. And I think that's true with betrayal as well. There's subtle signs along the way, and if we're not paying attention, we will miss them. And then when the betrayal becomes apparent, we're surprised or shocked by its presence in our relationship. Sign number one.
Well, sign number one is a form of envy. It's when somebody is building themselves up by putting you or somebody else down.
How do you define envy?
Jealousy is when I want what you have. Envy is when I don't want you to have what you have. You may think, well, if they're talking about somebody else and putting them down, then how is that a betrayal? Well, because if they're doing that with that person, when are they doing that with you? And if they're doing that, that means that there is a malicious intent, even though it may be disguised in, I'm really concerned about so-and-so. And I really want to make sure we can get them some support. It can show up like that. Or they might say something like, look, I need to talk to you about Adrian, okay? But I need to know that you're going to be confidential about this because this is really important. I don't want to hurt his feelings.
I'm so concerned about him.
Me too.
All right, number two.
To telling others what they think they want to hear. If I know that you want to hear certain things from me, I'm going to tell you that if I want to get my way. But if I notice that, is this person really telling me what they think? And if they're not, well, that's a sign. That's already a betrayal. All of these are themselves a betrayal.
A yes man is ripe for betrayal. Watching Succession, that becomes very, very clear.
And you think about people like Elvis Presley or Michael Jackson, and a lot of stars and people who have done well often eliminate any voice that might speak back to them an uncomfortable truth, then you don't know who your friends are.
Number three.
Telling the person what you think they ought to know. Only so much of what's going on. Just what I think you ought to know. And I can find that out by just in an inquiry. I can find out, well, you really don't need, I didn't think you needed to know that.
Mm-hmm. With good questions, you can go down that path.
Yeah, you can find out there's things that hadn't been told. They're being omitted. So when you bring them up, they'll say, well, geez, I didn't think that was relevant.
Number four.
Lying. Period. Lying. Lie about anything. The littler the lie, the more probably important it is to understand why they felt they had to tell it.
Yeah.
I've been called on that, exaggerating, etc. Any form of lying.
Sometimes I think, it's interesting. Sometimes I think people experience being lying to as uncomfortable as lying, or I don't know about their comfort or discomfort, but like there's something that keeps them from digging into it. Like, why did you lie? What was the,
what was happening for you? You felt like you had to lie to me.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean,
most people don't go down that road when they get lied to. And I don't know if it's embarrassment or whatever reason it is, but that's interesting. Wouldn't you want to explore that if you're thinking you have a relationship with this person?
I remember my father cornering me about an exaggeration I made and asking me that question. And it was helpful because I didn't realize it until he asked it, but I confessed to him, because I want you to think of me in a better light than I think you do. Like, I want you to think highly of me. And he said, well, you don't think I think highly of you? And I thought, well, I guess not. Or I wouldn't have done that. But it helped me see my own intention.
Yeah. Number five.
Vagueness. Just being vague. I don't know if I want to talk about this too much because it might get too specific. The other day, it was hard because Adrian had, he was a little tough on me, but I got through it. That's vague.
Not too much information, not what was going on.
I'm over it now, though. Don't worry about
it. I've got it all taken care of.
That's right.
Don't ask any more questions.
The next one's attempting to confuse. It's like gaslighting.
What the hell are you talking about?
The confusion covers up what the other person doesn't want you to know they're struggling with. They might even say they're confused. And then when they talk to you, you might get confused because they don't really want to see, or they don't want you to see what they're up to or what they're wrestling with. For them, most people, it's not like this devious, malicious thing where they're trying to be confusing, but they're being confusing because they're afraid if they really got clear, they wouldn't get from you what they want from you.
Number 7.
Minimization. Oh, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. And then later on, they very well might blow up on the thing they said wasn't a big deal.
All right, that does it. Blow the whole thing up.
And that is a sign there's something going on that you need to know about.
Number 9.
Assent, just agreeing. Yeah, sure, yeah, of course, that's true. Yeah. Okay.
100 million billion %.
Okay, and then they're on to something else. Like they're on to what they want to talk about. Like they may just agree with you, give assent, because they don't want you to know what they're up to. So they're easily going along with you, and then you notice that they're not completely in, or they're doing something other than what they said they would do when they assented.
Yes. My middle daughter's favorite way of being criminal. She just agrees with everything. She gets in trouble. She's like, yeah, you're right, Dad.
Right. That's right. You're right. Yeah, you're right. We've all been through that with our spouse, I'm sure.
Number 10.
Silence, stonewalling, not willing to talk about it, withholding. Just, you talk to them, they don't talk.
Come on, you gotta say something.
Something.
Oh, I can't handle the silent treatment. Don't leave me alone with my brain.
Next. 11.
Selective attention and perception. So no matter what you say, they always bring it back to their frame. They only pay attention to certain things you say. Notice if they hear everything you say, or they're only paying attention to the things that are relative or relevant to what they want, and they ignore maybe other points that might be important to you.
If there's a breakdown and you're having a conversation and you present your perspective, they're unwilling to even acknowledge that happened. They'll come back to, well, this is what I was saying, and this is what I did, and this is what I was dealing with and what I was seeing.
That's right. Or they're going to be selectively attentive to what you say as long as it relates to what they're up to and stays away from what you don't want to see.
All right, number 12.
Total inattention. If you have a 14-year-old or 12-year-old, you may know what this looks like. They just don't pay attention. They don't care what you say. They're at the dinner table. They're on their phone. They're staring around. They're playing with their food. It could be a million different things, but they're not paying attention. They're obviously somewhere else.
Yeah. It's the perfect setup to have not heard, right?
That's right.
Or not
That's right.
understood.
I don't know what you said. And then that goes to confusion.
Yes.
Right. So these play into each other.
Number 13.
Tardiness and missing appointments, breaking agreements. Broken agreements are probably the best indicator that something is up.
He always runs late. Always runs late. Thanks.
And they start small. Like what I say is, and you mentioned this at the beginning, is everything fails. I don't just say this. I heard it. And I've seen it to be true in my life, that things fail slowly than all at once.
Mm-hmm.
So if something falls apart all at once, it had a long tail of failure before that cliff.
Yeah.
I just didn't pay attention. And if people are missing appointments or they're late, then that's an indicator that the importance of what they promised is losing. It's losing its importance for them. Maybe worth investigating, talking about it, reinventing the promise, releasing the promise, whatever, but getting clear that, hey man, if they're missing appointments or they're tardy a lot, there's something in the relationship that needs to probably be said.
Number 14.
Number 14 is misunderstanding, intentionally misunderstanding, where we pretend to misunderstand to get the other person to continue to explain what they mean, so I don't have to come out with anything.
Yes.
So the responsibility of whatever's going on stays in your lap.
It strikes me as a front for holding your cards close to your chest, getting the other person to reveal their cards first. It's also a delay in response, right? If I don't understand what you're asking me, I get more time up here to think about what my formulated response is rather than my authentic response. Number 15.
15, generalizing to the point of absurdity.
It's absurd.
So what you're saying is, if I do this and I do that and you do this, then basically I hate you. Is that what is that what you're saying? You don't get to the things they don't want to talk about.
You just overload it, right? And it's so heavy. And he's like, oh, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'll back off. All right, number 16.
16 is to deliberately postpone. I keep putting it off. Hey, I know, geez, we were supposed to talk Monday, and that was a renegotiation for Friday, but I still haven't finished everything. Maybe we can talk this Friday.
We work a lot with CEOs and company founders. This one I find a lot with those roles, putting off the conversation so they don't have to deal with what's there. Number 17.
Claiming that I don't really need to change. Like something happens, didn't work, and even though it didn't work, it's all, it's just the way it is. I did all the things I needed to do, and it didn't work out. It's not my problem.
Yeah, nothing to see here.
Nothing
to learn, nothing to change,
I'm good enough. I did everything I had to. It's you.
Or the circumstance, right?
Circumstance. Or what do you expect me to do? I've had this happen where, I'm acting as a chief of staff and I'm working with somebody, they come in late and I just ask them, personally, I'll take them aside afterwards and say, hey, what happened? These meetings start. We need you here. What's going on? Well, the traffic was unbelievable, and I have to fight that traffic every day, et cetera, et cetera. I go, do you fly? Have you flown much? Oh, yeah, I fly a lot. How many flights have you missed in your life? Oh, none.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's pretend this is a flight.
All right. Finally, number 18.
They just attack you. A good offense is the best defense, right? So they pick your Achilles tendon, your Achilles heel, something you may have done in the past.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Bringing up the past,
or
some offense that you had on them.
You didn't do something in the meeting that was the way they thought it should be, or maybe it wasn't the way you said it would be, and they come after you about it. Because if they can get you on the defensive, you're not going to see what they're doing. You're going to feel bad. You're going to, the hope is you're going to want to make up for whatever they are pointing out as weak, whatever they're attacking.
Right on. So this is the 18 signs of betrayal. Obviously, lots of them are closely related, and people will display multiples of them, if not all of them. So as you study these, as you think about them, the opportunity is to start to notice them out there in the wild. And it's not in order to call them and say, hey, you're going to betray me, or you're a criminal, because you are as well. The idea is like, these are conversation starters. You can claim what you notice, and you can dig in, and then you can start to reveal or see what's actually there.
That's the point. You can really connect with where somebody is. If you notice these are going on, there's a conversation that wants to happen, and every other conversation is probably it's not as relevant as the one that seems to be hidden behind one of these strategies. That's the one you want to get to.
Amazing. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, man. Always a fun.
Thank you.
Appreciate you, brother. Bye, everybody.